10.
Hello and welcome to LOP Radio on YouTube. As I click about all over the place. Sorry for the all over the place. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and this is LOP Radio on YouTube, on Spreaker, and wherever you get your podcast feeds. So, I'm meant to be talking about the Royal Rumble and the fallout from that and potential WrestleMania matches. However, we've got a bit of news. And instead of going straight into talking about the Rumble, it's to do with these past couple of hours before I came on air. WWE's fired both of their presidents and their stock immediately started to nosedive. Currently down just shy of 23%. $62 to $47 in just 2 hours. But it wasn't going to be specific with the cents. It's risen a tad to $48. So it was $47.80. Then it's risen to $48. So and that's kind of where it's staying as I've gone live. I've not really done anything more to it. If you are watching on the YouTube thing, I can quickly get up the image for you to have a look at. That's what it's currently at just before. I literally went on, Googled it, screenshotted, there it is. So that is the image with everything. I highlighted things by accident. But yes, so that is the current kind of status of things. And I'm going to go through the Lords of Pain report on it to kind of go through, I guess, explain a little bit. So, as I just said, there was and I will be talking about the Rumble after this. It's kind of like, this is the big talking point. I really got to do it. So, I'll leave that graph up on there as I talk about Lords of Pain. There is a major corporate shake-up going on in WWE right now as the company announced a management transition that will see WWE presidents George Barrios and Michelle Wilson leave the company. They will also no longer serve on the WWE Board of Directors. Barrios was with WWE since 2008, whilst Wilson was hired in 2009. They both worked their way up the company. They have been replaced by a guy who's been there for years and with years of experience in the corporate world as well. Apparently, he will report directly to Vince McMahon, so it's quite interesting that. So in terms of outside of this, context is important here. So before the nosedive, WWE stock was up 2%. They have been regularly trading at about $60 and it closed at 62 today, or 62.30 if you care about being accurate. This isn't WrestleNomics. They'll give you the graphs on the being accurate and stuff. But yeah, so it was a little rise, still within tow of their average. However, after this happened, their stock dived, I think it was just shy of $10 in 1 hour after they fired both their presidents, and by the time it reached 2 hours, it's gone down. I think for Mark Middleton has done a little bit of maths, so it'd fallen $10, and it'd fallen for about $5 more by the time it reached the second hour, which meant it had fallen just shy of 23% in 2 hours, and it's kind of steadied at that $48 kind of level at that point, which it's kind of interesting to see it fall that far. Obviously, in terms of like how this kind of world operates, firing both your presidents with seemingly no replacement, like immediately ready, or people know there's a replacement already there, without that in place, yeah, they do not like uncertainty. Uncertainty is the enemy in this world. So it doesn't surprise me that the stock has fallen. It's a big drop, to say the least, but in all likelihood, they'll hire, it's the type of thing of buy now, because when they, not to give trading from a random person, but if you were to buy, the likelihood is it's going to go up again as soon as they hire somebody. So people right now would have jumped the hell onto that and just immediately to sell it again as soon as somebody is actually hired and the stocks go up. So that is the likely scenario. It's not going to stay at this level. It will go up. I would say about 60, because I don't know if it shouldn't be much lower than that. And as in, worst comes to worst, 58 but I'd hazard a guess back to 60 without much time. Like, they've got a Saudi Arabia show coming up, that'll shoot it back up. So, yeah, they hate uncertainty, but they like money. Saudi Arabia gives them money, so no worries there at all. But yeah, I do find it interesting, essentially, that this has really happened. This is also within the wider context of last year with their over 17/18 with their men, especially 18, with their absolutely crazy valuations. We're talking like close to $100. They're in the 90s, if I'm right, especially around Saudi Arabia showtime. They were doing incredibly well, and now. So if you don't forget, last year there was that massive drop from the 90s all the way down to 60. I'm talking about dollars still, obviously. All the way from $90 all the way down to $60. That happened last year. That was massive news when that took place. This is another fall after that. However, $60 is still like more than double, 48 if I'm right. And I think the highest before this kind of era was like 2014 with the launch of the network and all of that stuff. I think they reached like a $29 share valuation, I think, if I'm right. But at like outside of that, you're looking at outside of that, you're looking at like 15, I think, max $13 maybe. So it's even though it's fallen down to $48 per share, which is a massive drop, it is still so much higher than it ever was outside of this specific era, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out what major business deal suddenly happened in 2017. Like, what happened specifically in 2017, which then was a side deal and suddenly their stock absolutely skyrocketed? Can you put your finger on it? But obviously, when that deal happened, where I'm assuming everybody's figured out which deal I'm talking about. If not, hit me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. Or hit WrestleNomics, hit Brandon Thurston. He gets enough as it is. But yeah, so with those shows happening, their potential income obviously would skyrocketing up, and therefore their shares they did really, really well. They were trading really nice and high, and that I'm assuming that's going to go back up again as soon as the next show is out of the way, and then you've got WrestleMania around the corner. They're two pretty good periods for WWE. The more bigger shows, the better. This is a fall this year after a fall last year as well, which is, to be fair, 60 felt more in line. So they've got the massive deals, obviously, which shot their stock a bit to an overvaluation personally in the first place, but that's not uncommon in this world to overvalue at that kind of level. 60 feels about right, which is why I'm thinking, yes, it's fallen down, but I reckon it's just going to go back up. It's just going to balance out. But it is quite interesting that it's fallen so far. It's obviously newsworthy that in such a short amount of time it drops. I think it seems to have stayed at 48. So, but it's a huge topping point. It's a huge topic of the moment. If you've got any opinions on this, hit me up or whatever on somewhere. I've not realised not checked the Spreaker chat for anything. I'm really good at this live thing. Right, it's a little more interesting image for the YouTube viewers that I actually put effort into making compared to a random screenshot I did literally 1 minute before I went live. I'm just going to leave the image. That's what I normally do. Because it's, yeah, I don't know. It feels weird just it being images. If we talk about the topic and I just switched to that match, I did that once and I really didn't like it, personally. I don't know how everyone else took to it. So for me, it's either boring single image, video of me or something, which I'm not set up to do. I'm investing. I've got the sound thing, which has come recently. Oh, and annoyingly, the picture is not high enough for the image, which is bloody annoying. So this is great for podcast listeners as I adjust that. Hopefully it doesn't adjust to the bottom. Anyway, let's talk Royal Rumble fallout. But yeah, send me your opinions on the WWE stock fall. Unfortunately, have I explained it quite boringly to a point where there isn't much of an opinion to be had? Which is, I realised that started to happen when I started listening to WrestleNomics way back when. It happened. So your arguments become more grounded and therefore less fanciful and less out there. It does what you're saying because it's quite boring and grounded. Anyway, let's talk about the Royal Rumble and its fallout. As you can tell by the title, I've decided to focus on the championship matches, which makes sense given the Royal Rumble. I was part of LOPR Aftershock on Sunday, immediately live after the Royal Rumble event. If you want to hear my in-depth opinions of everything that happened on that show, go listen to LOPR Aftershock. It was live immediately after the show went off air, and it's like an hour and a half of all of my thoughts on the show. I penned over 3,600 words. Oh, I even uploaded my notes as a column, which got like no reaction. but I thought, in fact, I've essentially written a column here. Turns out notes aren't, they're the size of a column, but they don't read like a column. It's the first time I've ever done it. So it was a nice test. It just didn't obviously work. But with the fallout from the Royal Rumble, we've got the look to WrestleMania. It's gone down, I guess it's been a few days now. I'm going live on a Thursday. Well, for me, it's Friday because I'm English. It's already passing to the next day. But we're at that point now where it's further into the week, and there is the feeling of the Rumbles feels very positive. The women's one seems to be falling down into a mid-tier air, as in it's not the worst thing in history, but it wasn't special particularly. It falls into the middle of it's fine. Whilst the men's Rumble is highly regarded. People absolutely loved it. I've heard some call it the best of the decade, or best in a long time, since the personal favourites, or whatever your personal favourites are. I personally absolutely loved 2018. I thought the pacing of that one was great. This one I rate with that one, where I maybe prefer 2020 personally. I don't know, it's the way that it works, and the Lesnar stuff at the start really, really pays off and sets up the second half so well, which has got even more surprises. It just works so damn well as an overall thing. And the bloody image still isn't right. This is irritating. I do apologise, podcast listeners, but I've got to sort that out. Have I even made it big enough? Who cares? Right. So the actual rumours then going on, because obviously I'm not going to be going too long tonight, but the rumours going in to the, I guess, post-Royal Rumble WrestleMania season. Finally bloody got it out. So, looking on to the matches which are being kind of rumoured, what these kind of mean for WrestleMania 36, which will be live from the big pirate venue. And we've not heard anything about Kairi Sane, so pirate venue, Kairi Sane, surely. I mean, she's the one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, so it makes sense that she'll be in the tag team match, I'm assuming. That's what's going to happen, maybe like last year where they had the multi-women's match, but there seems to be no setup for that. I don't know. So, yes. But anyway, so in terms of the reported matches, there's 3 big ones. I wanted to get one rumour out the way first. Well, 2 rumours out the way first, because I don't really want to address them that much, because there's nothing to go on, and they are the 2 SmackDown title matches. So first, it's the SmackDown Women's Championship of Bayley, champion of Bayley, and she's light. Well, the rumour is it'll be Bayley versus Sasha Banks, and they'll do something with that. As I wrote in like a column for in my predictions column, that was it. As I wrote in my predictions column for the Rumble, they have done enough little things. Like when Kofi squished the pancake, that kind of level, where they did that and people online went, oh, did you see the way that Sasha just kind of stares at the title, and the next week Bayley's now holding the title on the other shoulder. It's kind of, or Sasha Banks kind of stroked it a bit. It's just something small like that. And it was kind of, people kind of took it like the Kofi squishing a pancake, where some were like, oh my god, they're telling the story, this is fantastic. Yeah, like, if you're paying attention, you'll notice it. Whilst I took it like, oh, it's WWE, until they make this official and they tell you a million times on commentary this is the story that's happening, then it's not happening. They can make it canon just with like a click of the fingers and it all becomes canon, which is the wonder of it all. Which is why the Kofi pancake thing is like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Like, not perfectly fine because I hated the way that they ended it all onto Brock Lesnar. But with Kofi, it felt like the pancake thing was never going to go anywhere. This has potential with Sasha and Bayley, I'll just say. Obviously, I've got no idea what's actually going to happen, and Sasha Banks herself was unable to participate in the Royal Rumble because of an injury. So, yeah. Anyway, so on to the other SmackDown match of Bray Wyatt defending his title, the number 1 candidate being Roman Reigns. I don't know why I did such a long pause, but the number one candidate is Roman Reigns, given to be kept away from the title for so long, seemingly rebuilt over the year, kept in a mid-card Vortex feud, which keeps him occupied up until the Royal Rumble. I've chosen him as my number one contender to win the whole thing and go to WrestleMania, face the champion. He can still do that. There's the Elimination Chamber, which kind of makes sense if you've got to go through that kind of hell to get to the Fiend, because then you've got to show how you really are that crazy to want to do it. Or, as is what happened in past events, the Fiend targets you. And the Fiend has got history with Roman, which will make it really, really easy. But there was also word coming out, it was reported by Dave Meltzer, that there were two winners going back and forth from Monday Night Raw in terms of potential candidates. Roman was one of them, right until the last minute, was between Roman and Drew who was going to win. I don't know how last minute means, but it was apparently quite tight in terms of when that happened, or when it was decided that McIntyre would win and not Roman. The other candidate was Aleister Black. So two Paul Heyman projects there, two of the guys he really wants to push out of his list, Drew McIntyre and Aleister Black, with the word being that Drew McIntyre versus Lesnar was always the one on the cards whilst these decisions were happening. The question is just, of course, which one do you set up at Royal Rumble? Which one do you set up at the Elimination Chamber? Obviously, if Aleister Black had won, the word going round is it would have been Black versus The Fiend, which is quite interesting and obviously massively different because there is no history there to work with for Aleister Black. It's debuted this year. Oh, well, it's not been a year since he's debuted yet, is what I mean. I think he debuted in February in NXT Reset 2, if I'm right. Reset 1 was late December, early January. Reset 2 was February, like Aleister Black, Ricochet, Ciampa, Gargano. So it's not quite been a year yet. So there's not, in terms of Fiend fights you and you have the reset, like that's not happened. So it's quite interesting to see what have gone down that road. Personally, I'm still going with Roman Reigns versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt. That's still my match of choice, mostly because Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin has been going on for so long, and it's been the main event storyline for so. Even when Daniel Bryan and the Fiend and the Miz, like their thing, has been a joy to watch for me. Even though that's been happening, and we've seen the fallout of it as well with the Miz going through his reset, which makes that the mid card even interesting as well. Even though that's been happening, the vortex of the Baron Corbin thing, where they've done the exact same thing of last year, the exact same thing as the League of Nations from 3 years ago as well. Like, they keep repeating the same weird mistakes. I don't know why. They just can't stop themselves. And for me, the Baron Corbin, that was the feud where he was never really a threat to Roman Reigns. So kind of need to move past that. So I still go with Roman Reigns to face the Fiend at WrestleMania. It's just a rumour, though. And with the news coming out that if Aleister Black had won, he would likely have challenged the Fiend. That's interesting. But apparently the decision was made that McIntyre was more over kind of in this moment, which is 100% correct. So they went with McIntyre instead of Black for those reasons. So obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if it was down to the wire. It was either the SmackDown candidate or the Raw candidate. Like, it's been decided, McIntyre's challenging, Reigns is challenging, but who wins the Rumble? Who wins the Chamber? So I would not be surprised if Roman Reigns wins the Chamber. Or, I don't know, because they've got a Saudi show coming in February, and this is the first time they're doing it on the road to WrestleMania. The question being, how much does that take away from WrestleMania with that other tagline of, this is better than WrestleMania, this is even bigger than that, this is the greatest thing you've ever seen. And I've actively not watched any of them, and having seen the reports, it's aimed at the audience it is being presented to, which is not the Western market. So a lot of the hardcore wrestling fans especially, the hardcore Western fans especially, no, it's not for them. It's not for me, for example. Taking out all of my massive morality questions I have to ask every time the shows come around. It's like, even if you're fine with it, you've had to answer the morality questions. And personally, when I'm watching wrestling, I don't want to be answering those kinds of questions. I'd rather just watch my silly half-naked people fake fight each other, please. I really don't care. Let them tell me a story. I don't want to be thinking about the morality of the show I'm watching. Which, with how grey the world is, that's a really deep topic to dive into. So maybe not. But with the Royal Rumble fallout, there are 3 bigger ones that I do want to talk about. It's taken me 20 minutes to get there, so I'm going to have a sip of tea first. That tea is cold. Bloody lovely. I can't swear past bloody because of YouTube censorship. But, yeah. Seriously, check out the list of words that are which kind of hurt the algorithm that you can say on YouTube in terms of what kind of ranks you down if you use them. Especially for titles. Like, there's some absolutely creative ones. Like, whole states are just on the list. It's just a state. I don't know why. I know, like, the YouTube is also on the list. The name YouTube is absolutely mental. Oh, it's a crazy thing. If you care about that sort of stuff, like, I've already banged on about stock prices and things, and plugged WrestleNomics, plugged them again. But still, it's an interesting read. But anyway, first the 100% confirmed match. By 100%, obviously, it was announced on Raw with a fancy graphic and all, so there's no ignoring this one. Drew McIntyre will be challenging WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Drew McIntyre shocking the world and winning the Royal Rumble. Scotland looking like he's going to become the first British first British WWE champion, I guess is the way to phrase it. He's been a heavyweight champion in different promotions, but not WWE, obviously, not the big one, not their title. So that will be taking place at WrestleMania in Tampa at the big pirate venue. A Pirate Drew. Oh, that's going to be brilliant. Will they all come out in pirate gear, or will they actually make it themed to them? Because personally, I don't want too much to be taken away from Asuka and Kairi's entrance. I feel like theirs should be, because of the type of match it will be, but kind of mid-card, they won't really get that much attention, but it's Asuka and Kairi in the pirate venue. Give them an entrance. Please. I don't care if it's mid-card. You've got between 5 and 10. Get through your stuff. Get through all your spots as quickly as you can. Don't mind. Give them the pirate entrance. It's the biggest opportunity. But I just thought Pirate Drew would also be flipping amazing. So yes. But anyway, yeah, Drew McIntyre's won the Royal Rumble and he will be challenging Brock Lesnar. Obviously, it was the way it was set up in the Rumble match I thought was brilliant, where they had, obviously, Drew McIntyre eliminated Lesnar, and Lesnar was on the outside after that happened. And Drew McIntyre continued to eliminate people, like Ricochet went out, The Miz went out, and after he hit the Future Shock DDT really swiftly on The Miz, he then immediately got up and looked over to Brock Lesnar and just stared eyes into him before then hitting the Claymore and eliminating The Miz. It's like, oh, that was fantastic setup. Like, when he won, there should have been no doubt who he was going to be challenging, especially when he walked out on Raw. Like, they set it up in the match, which in terms of WWE, I've often complained, like, the lack of foreshadowing kind of makes it feel like there isn't a plan going forward, or that the lack of foreshadowing kind of makes the stories not feel as alive as they should, because they seemingly come out of nowhere. That meant, what he did in the Rumble, meant that it was no surprise he went for Lesnar, because it had been foreshadowed. It's like, oh yes, lovely stuff. But yes, he no faff from Drew McIntyre as he's going to be facing Brock Lesnar, immediately confirmed. I just assumed there wouldn't be Lesnar. Nope, out he comes. F5 to Drew McIntyre, and that's the end of that segment. Drew McIntyre essentially got to job out the OC. Sans Styles, who's separated his shoulder. So, unlucky. Apparently he's not going to miss WrestleMania, so in terms of like more looking at Rumble things that happened which could affect WrestleMania, yeah, AJ Styles is apparently going to be fine. Don't know who he'll be fighting. Or wrestling. Don't know who he'll be up against. It's quite open for him. But anyway, so Drew McIntyre Lesnar is 100% confirmed. Should Drew win? Personally, yes, but I am British. I'm extremely biased in this one. It's weird, because it's still, for me, it's evident that this wasn't the plan half a year ago. I guess SummerSlam or even October type of time. But maybe it started to slowly happen over November, December, January, where slowly start to do more and more face things, and the countdown got more and more over for the 3, 2, 1 for the Claymore. He especially started doing that kind of thing with the Royal Rumble. That's just, my assumption was it was to go in with the countdown of the Rumble. That's how I read it at first, but no, it's properly gotten over. It's also the kind of thing which can get corny and outstay its welcome quick, but Drew McIntyre kind of has that serious presentation where I feel like that should have rode the corniness pretty fast. Obviously, depending on what scripts he gets on the road to WrestleMania. Like they showed last year that they can absolutely nail it. I think they didn't quite nail it with Seth Rollins and Lesnar, but they bloody did with Kofi and Bryan. So obviously there was a lot more at play in that one. But they showed that they can, like week to week, not make your babyface seem like an idiot or not kind of take away a bit of the momentum. But they have done that in the past. Like even with, I'll get to it in a bit, but Edge. Even with Edge, they did that when he won the Rumble. He somewhat lost his, Edge a little bit. By the time he got to WrestleMania, the match was not the most hyped by quite a country mile. No, we entered that weird era. Like immediately after that, the World Heavyweight Championship suddenly opening WrestleMania, like Del Rio, which did the same thing, where they super excited when he won the Rumble, and then he just got dulled out on the road, and people got kind of bored of him. Like it's not a WWE thing. Like it's not just them. Like the amazing story in New Japan, like with Tetsuya Naito that finished this year. That starts with that exact same experience, where Naito won essentially their Rumble to main event their Wrestle Kingdom, but on the road it just crumpled, it just fell apart. And then when he walked out to face the champion on their final face to face, you could hear a pin drop. Like it happens. It's not just a WWE thing. But I reckon Drew McIntyre feels like the kind of guy where he's right up WWE's wheelhouse, and he should be pretty easy to keep over. He's, obviously, the Big Scott is a massive guy, and he's so serious in his presentation that it's going to be very, like, he can't over babyface him, I reckon. I think they'll be fine. As long as they don't go too, I guess, in the generic roles kind of thing, which they shouldn't do. And this Monday Night Raw was a great example of that, where he wasn't the babyface who's kind of the big decision on his shoulders kind of thing. It's like, no, he's still Drew McIntyre. He's still that same guy. He's just not being a dick to the audience, I guess. So, good for him. But yes, so Drew McIntyre versus Lesnar, 100% confirmed. Now let's get into rumour territory. Oh, no, I'm a complete idiot. In terms of 100%, well, no, I guess it's mostly confirmed because they set it up. So for me, that counts as 100%. Maybe I'd call Lesnar McIntyre 200% in terms of not only has the angle been set up, but also they've announced it on television with words and graphics and promotion and everything. So the other one, which is the angle has been set up. So for me, that is 100% confirmed still. Edge Randy Orton in one of the greatest closing segments of Monday Night Raw in quite some time. I want to say it's up. We're talking about like it's up there with the greatest segments. Like you're comparing it to Jericho and Owens to the Festival of Friendship. Like, and I guess I was going to say CM Punk pipe bomb, but I just mean like fantastic. Maybe more Festival of Friendship, as in up there greatest moments in Raw history. It was done so well. I guess then for me the only complaint I've got of it is it's not with current stars, as it is with two veterans. Well, one veteran in Randy Orton and one retired legend coming back. Apparently on a 3-year deal where he's got, I think it was 5 matches, 25 appearances. So it's a bit like a Lesnar deal, but obviously it won't be for Lesnar money. But still, that's my only criticism of it, because the story itself on that night was fantastic, and the way that they played the video packages through the night too was like, please watch to the end of the show. Edge is going to be coming out. He's going to say hello. It's like, the way they promoted that was so damn good, and they made sure that you knew the important facts for that main event. With that, it was one of the things where the show being 3 hours really helped with that, because they didn't feel too overloading. They played them a lot, but it wasn't too overloading. Really, I maybe would have. It was a little bit too much watching it. Obviously, the next day because I'm English. Like it was a little bit too much watching it where they would play him coming out at the Royal Rumble like over and over so many times. But live it was spread out, so I don't know if it would have been a bit more fine, like with actual ad breaks rather than my like kind of fast forwarding through it. But still, it was such a fantastic segment, and the way it was set up as well. Obviously, it also builds from their past, because Edge turned on Randy Orton way back in 2010. I think it was 2010. And then you've got, unless it was rated RKO, they never got their WrestleMania match. They were in the Money in the Bank instead, even though they had the rated RKO build. But still, they never got that WrestleMania match between the two of them, and 10 years later they eventually get to. Who knows, it might have been on the cards earlier had Edge not had to retire, but thankfully with advancements in everything, he was able to force himself back. But yeah, it's an amazing return, and it played off the emotion of the occasion so damn well. And it's, as I said, it's a fantastic story, set up wonderfully, set up fantastically in the Royal Rumble, just like with McIntyre facing Lesnar. There was foreshadowing in here at the Rumble, and then what happened on Raw is direct consequences of both past actions and the Rumble itself. It's it was the way that they brought back the past as well with Randy Orton, just bringing out the emotion. The hug with Edge, where it seemed like both of them were just ready to cry in that moment. Obviously, the professionals, they held it back. But it was so well done that it's, for me, absolutely fantastic story. And now we get the kind of heel Randy Orton over the next few weeks. Immediately the most hated man in WWE. They're fantastic at making you want to see Lesnar lose. But in terms of pure hate, that's really difficult to get. And I reckon they've done that with Randy Orton. The shock from the crowd was just amazing to hear. That reaction, it's just it was so well done. The crowd it was genuine shock. You don't really hear that in modern day wrestling. Just pure the reaction of pure shock and no, Randy, don't Randy. It's that's, you don't get that reaction anymore. And the fact that they got that, for me, just once again echoes how damn great this was done. So really well good, and of course this writes out Edge storyline wise. It feels a bit more natural that we won't see him for a little while. It's one of those where Edge has only got 5 matches a year. It's but I'm fine with that. Please don't have him wrestle too much. This won't be the main event either. It's the feature. It's like Triple H Batista last year. It's the it's the featured match between the legends. So yeah, only complaint is that there are plenty of modern day guys who are probably good enough to tell this sort of story were they ever given the material to do so, but they aren't. That's my only negative. My only negative is that this isn't being used on a current star, because it's so good. My only complaint is that there isn't this quality elsewhere. In terms of card variety, you can't have this kind of serious story everywhere, otherwise everything feels a bit bland and samey. But yeah, it's so well told. Bloody looking forward to it. Right, now for the rumoured ones. The two big rumoured ones I wanted to talk about before I sign off relatively early on this. Becky Lynch potentially facing NXT champion Shayna Baszler. So Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble. Immediate fan feeling is, not Charlotte Becky again. They're really good together, but we've seen it so many times. I related it to Naito and Ibushi for us New Japan nerds. It's a match which is really good, but I'm done. It's been done to death. I just need a break from it. We can go back to it at some point, just not this year. Just leave it a bit. So when Charlotte won the Rumble and Charlotte Flair did not announce who she'd be facing, immediately you're kind of questioning, well, is that because WWE don't know? Or is that because it's somebody else, when somebody else will be into question secondly? But if it's not Becky Lynch, who does Becky Lynch face? And the rumours coming out is that she will potentially be facing former NXT champion Shayna Baszler, who is, I think she's having a mini feud with Shotzi Blackheart in NXT, the new face there. And that's kind of cool. Shayna Baszler also with the massive win at Survivor Series. She beat Bayley, so in terms of Becky Lynch kind of wanting retribution in a way, she lost the match without being the one defeated. She's got that, they got that grudge to grind. She's got that to get over next. And in terms of proving herself, she proved herself against Asuka. Shayna Baszler's the next one to prove herself against. It makes a lot of sense. Especially as Becky Lynch tapped out Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania and she's beaten Charlotte. Yeah, Shayna Baszler is kind of the one, especially if Ronda Rousey's not back. Shayna Baszler is the one for Becky Lynch to have to prove herself against. It makes a lot of sense. Also, she got a major spotlight being number 30 in the Rumble. So if Charlotte Flair challenges for one title, Shayna Baszler, who was the was the last person to be eliminated. That happens quite a lot in Royal Rumbles, where that second last to be eliminated ends up in a big spot at WrestleMania anyway. Just not the main event. Until recent times where it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you win the Royal Rumble, your match could be happening absolutely anywhere. It happens. But yeah, in terms of Lynch facing Baszler, it's quite an interesting one. I do like how it would have been set up from Survivor Series. You've seen 2 sporadic appearances, maybe we've seen 1 more at Elimination Chamber. That's when it's set up, or something like that. We do get a surprise Raw attack or something. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have Shayna be the instigator or Becky Lynch. Because, of course, it has been set up where Becky Lynch would want to prove herself against Shayna, but Shayna Baszler could also want to prove herself against Becky Lynch. It works both ways. I don't mind how they set this one up. I would see it more as a call-up than the rumoured Charlotte Flair match, which we'll get to in a bit. But the Shayna Baszler match would, for me, be like a full-time call-up, and she's on Raw, she's challenging for the Raw title, that kind of thing. Don't know if the Horsewomen were going with her. The issue with the Horsewomen around Baszler is they never really got past that kind of green level. So if they're getting called up, they are always just going to be henchwomen, and they're never really going to be much more than that. And when they ultimately have to get in a match, that's kind of where you got a little bit of issues. It's perfectly fine in NXT, but like on the main roster, you get a hell of a lot more criticism, a lot harsher. So I don't know if there'll be cons there. Obviously, the money is MMA versus Horsewomen versus Horsewomen, MMA Horsewomen versus NXT Horsewomen. That is the money match WWE seemingly wants to get to. But I like how currently that is so far away in terms of where people are in terms of being together as a team, that it would take like a whole year getting round to that, and maybe you can set that up with Shayna Baszler challenging Lynch at WrestleMania, maybe even winning. I don't know, Becky Lynch would have held it for a full year, and she feels like the kind of champion who could easily hold it more than a year. Personally, you are starting to see quite a few comments of on board with Becky and things, but whenever a promotion has a champion win all of the matches, that starts to happen. And the trick is being able to do what New Japan did, where they had Kazuchika Okada hold that title for over 2 years, like 2.5 years, something ridiculous. And obviously, every single title match, you start to feel like, oh, this is going to be the time, this is going to be the time. And whenever you have somebody hold the title for a long time and they always win, 100% you will get some people start to turn off of them. It happens. There's not really much you can do about that, which it's weird because it sucks, that means you're very rarely going to be able to do the long reign. The only way maybe is, in the modern day, maybe Brock Lesnar's way, where he's just not there and you don't see him defend it all the time. That for me, that's maybe the only way to avoid all of this kind of criticism. I don't see it as an issue. I like the long title reign. That's why I would say, like Kofi, I would have kept it all the way to the Royal Rumble if I was booking it. Like, make him a champion, have him actually beat people like Brock Lesnar, like that kind of thing. Establish him. That's what I would have done, but I wouldn't have had this Rumble kind of scenario. We can still do it, just not with the title. But anyway, it's Lynch versus Baszler is an interesting one. Immediately, I was jumping to Lynch winning and continuing an awesome reign. But if you're establishing Baszler and you have her number 30 and in the final 2 at the Rumble, you have her win at Survivor Series, the next step is to have her win at WrestleMania, like ruin Becky Lynch's party, and that immediately establishes her as a threat. It's interesting. It's a massive call-up moment, but with Survivor Series, they've got this like unique opportunity. I don't know if they'll continue it next year as well, but it is that unique opportunity where they have been able, on the main roster, to set up stars in this way, like outside of a surprise Royal Rumble appearance or something. Survivor Series set up quite a few of the characters, so when they are called up, they are known by the core audience. It's worked in that manner. It made Survivor Series like a fun one-off. I don't know if I want to see it every year. Like the Survivor Series matches themselves weren't that good, personally. I didn't actually like them. It was too much. And it does mean you get those kind of quick eliminations, which doesn't quite work. Especially the way that they went in both of the matches. It was a little odd. But the rest of the show, where it's like triple threats and things, they're always fun. It's just the actual Survivor Series matches at Survivor Series took the hit. So it's a bit too chaotic. We can use it to set up NXT guys who then get called up either after WrestleMania or they appear in the Rumble and whatnot, and suddenly people know who they are. So, huge bonuses. But yeah, Becky Lynch versus Baszler. That is one of the rumoured matches. Who would you have win? Would it be, would you have Becky Lynch continue the feud, or would you have Baszler get established at this WrestleMania? I've made my voice clear what I would do. And I'd be all up for this match. And I'd also be up for the second rumoured match. So I'm not sure if this has got something to it or if it's more kind of fan wanting after certain comparisons are made, and then you got this huge NXT star with a lot of momentum going for her. But it's the Women's Royal Rumble winner, Charlotte Flair, and she may challenge current NXT champion Rhea Ripley. So quite interesting that, to have the former NXT champion Shayna Baszler and the current NXT champion Rhea Ripley both be at WrestleMania. The first NXT Championship match at WrestleMania, and it is Rhea Ripley, who is somebody who has got a lot of commentary comparisons to Charlotte Flair. I've not seen many fan comparisons, as in all I could probably see is super athletic, super talented, tall and blonde. That's all I could think of. Like, in terms of everything else, they couldn't be any more different. But they are. Obviously, Rhea Ripley's got an insane amount of potential. For the age that she's at, to be at the stage she's at, that is insane. And having the NXT Championship match at WrestleMania could do huge things in terms of establishing NXT. So I'd be all for it. And again, it's Rhea Ripley who's been compared to Charlotte a hell of a lot, facing Charlotte Flair herself, as in go face to face with those comparisons. It's an interesting way, because of course as well, like, NXT got quite a good bump out of the Survivor Series kind of build. In terms of WrestleMania, that's the thing that could establish the brand more than anything else. It's the one thing AEW does not have in terms of that little Wednesday night competition. That's not competition. With that, the only big thing that AEW do not have is the mega brand that is WrestleMania. And if NXT is featured on that, then that's quite cool. Also, not forgetting there is a takeover the night before as well, so that could just not happen at all. I don't really know. Either Rhea Ripley defends her title twice over the weekend, or she's in a different kind of match on takeover, or she's not in a match at all because she's at WrestleMania. Who knows? And what does that mean for the men's title? Does Adam Cole defend it at WrestleMania as well, or does he still headline the NXT takeover show? I don't know. This opens the gate for what could possibly happen. But with NXT and the main roster, most of the time different worlds in terms of what happens with characters, there's always a chance that what Rhea Ripley does in NXT is essentially like a weird timeline that isn't happening when you're doing a main roster storyline. So it's more of the energy of the performer than it is actually following the stories in terms of complicatedness. Yeah. But again, totally up for Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Like, the present versus the future. Like, yes. I love that idea. Especially as the alternatives are either Flair versus Lynch again, or Flair versus Bayley. And Charlotte Flair in that babyface role against Bayley just doesn't feel right. They'd have quite a bit of hard work making me care about that match, unfortunately. Where, for me, Charlotte Flair, yes, she's like a heel, and then she wrestles as a babyface. It's really weird. She doesn't feel like a good character. She still feels like the bad guy, and then she wrestles like a hero babyface. It's a little bit weird because I really rate her and of course, like, she didn't get an amazing reaction when she won. It was a smattering of boos and a couple of claps and cheers. Like, she isn't super over anywhere near to the level, I guess, of like Becky Lynch. Like, she's not super over babyface, and Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Bayley are the out and out heels. Charlotte's weirdly in this middle ground where I feel like she should be heel, but she's at times presented as the opposite. So what is she actually? Like, who knows? Who has any idea? But still, I'm excited for that potential match. I really like the sound of it. And then I'd do Bayley Sasha to kind of cap it off. They would be my 3 women's matches at WrestleMania. And I would do all 3. That is still what I do. Well, 4 if you count the women's tag team match, but that could get pre-showed, but it can't get pre-showed because Asuka Kairi Pirate entrance, that is main show. It's got it written all over it. Becky Lynch is going to be on very late once again because it's a really, really long show. Oh, there's a little thing on there, little weird WWE moment of the week, I guess, to be for me to sign off with. I like features like this. It's not a running thing, but this is the weird WWE moment of the week. Comes from the WWE Network, where they had a documentary that came out shortly after WrestleMania about, because it was like following Becky Lynch, or was following like the WrestleMania stuff, and in it Becky Lynch was kind of joking about how long she's got to wait until her match, until it's time for the nerves to kick in, It's just saying, I'm not going to be on till like 1:30 a.m. something, because there's so many matches, like 15, 16. I'm going to be on so late. And then, so that was what was in there. And then they've done a new documentary. I think they're following like 3 people on the day of WrestleMania. And in that new documentary, they've refilmed the car ride in which she said that, and they've changed what she said to, as in it's very clearly refilmed, because it's Becky Lynch of now compared to the Becky Lynch of whenever that was filmed. Yeah, but originally, like shortly, at WrestleMania, proof of tiredness kicking in. So they had to refilm it and say, "Oh, what time am I on? Like 11:30? 11:30? Yeah, like I've got a few hours to wait till I start to get nervous." It's just like they had her refilm it because she said she'd be on late at like 1:30 because there was so many matches because it's a really long show, and then they were like, "Oh, when am I on? Oh, 11:30." And they didn't even bother to make it look like it fit the continuity, because then it clearly just goes back to WrestleMania Becky Lynch. it's jarring, and it's kind of, as a kind of filmy, nerdy kind of person that sees that sort of thing, is like, may this weird company never stop doing the odd weird little thing. Of course, the company name would be, oh no, WrestleMania is not like a really super long show. No, it's really digestible and enjoyable, and you blast through it. Obviously, the company line isn't, oh, but there's so many matches, I've got absolutely ages to wait. But it really added to kind of the authenticity of the original video watching it, and then when you watch the new one, it's just this jarring thing of it's different Becky Lynch from the future cut in this differently filmed thing in a car. It's weird, but it's WWE weird, and I love it for it. Anyway, that is bringing me to the end of the show with the massive stock news before I went live, just kind of making the show a little bit longer than it was going to be, or making me rush certain bits a little bit more than I would have thought of. But also there are the Royal Rumble rumours and confirmed stuff, or things set up as well. In terms of Lynch Baszler, Charlotte Flair Ripley and Banks Bayley, there's been no hint of that happening on WWE TV recently. That's more like rumoured in the workings kind of stuff. Especially as like there have been news reporters or wrestling journalists who have been really shocked that there haven't been really like set plans in place all like this far in, as this close to WrestleMania. So that means it's quite exciting in the way that you don't know what's going to happen, but also when something might get booked and confirmed, there might not be much buzz to it because it has kind of come out of nowhere. But yeah, Baszler Lynch has got the setup for it, so that would work. Banks Bayley, it's there if they want to use it. If not, then because it could do Charlotte Flair versus Bayley or a different champion, they could still do that without, and they could write off the idea of NXT champion Rhea Ripley. I personally would do present versus future. I love the sound of that. Ripley versus Flair, especially as Ripley's so often compared to Flair. It's kind of like that. They're setting up a dream match sort of, but it's also rookie versus champion of this era. Yeah, all up for it. But really, I'm quite excited for WrestleMania. It's one of those, well, both excited and dreading it because I'm doing Aftershock for it again. So I really don't like on Royal Rumble Day on Sunday. I really wasn't excited for the show at all, which is why I was really happy going on Aftershock, because I went in with zero expectations. I went in more dreading the length of the thing than I was like anything on the show. Like the actual daunting size of the event overshadowed everything on it for me in terms of excitement. WrestleMania's like 2 hours longer. It's insane. Like it's absolutely mental how long that show is, and it's even worse in terms of Aftershock. Maybe you'll try and get a friend. Like if I'm doing this, you're coming down with me. And anyway, thank you for listening, anybody who has listened all the way to the end. Weirdly, most people don't listen to the end of a podcast. I don't understand those people. There's so the stats back it up as well. It's really weird. It's not like a one-off person. A lot of people don't listen to the end of stuff. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to the end. I was going to do all the plugs here before I sign off. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheDampImplicat. Also, please, in terms of like algorithms and things, it's awesome to get any forms of likes. I've seen a few coming in, which is pretty damn good for the size of channel that we are to get any. I'm ecstatic when we get any when I'm live. For me, that's still a little bit crazy. But anyway, Please, like, just any form of engagement is all. I think I said before, thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know if it matters. I've not looked at the algorithm that closely. The only way to know is to test it. I think I prefer thumbs up. Anyway, also like sharing the video, that's also good. Check out Tim Rose's shorter videos he's done. He's done like 5-minute news pieces as well. He's testing that out. If you want to give some feedback on that, that'll be awesome. Just so that we could see what people think of it, I guess, as well. And also, please check with the other LOP radio shows, which is the family this is a part of. Which I will get up tomorrow. There's a bit of an issue with the quality of the show. If you listen to the Spreaker version, it sounds like you can't hear Jeff at all, really. And Jamman sounds like he got hold of a wah pedal and went mental. So I've had to get audio from elsewhere of that show, so that'll be going up tomorrow. I was really busy today, so by the time I sorted it was too late. So that'll be up tomorrow. Also, it's NWA The Legacy Series. The debut episode was this past Friday. They're returning again. And I am doing my best churning through it to turn that into an awesome video. I've almost finished my first edit through the sound. So there's a likelihood I'll either make a massive backlog or from this point on I'll only do the pay-per-views. That sounds more sensible given the amount of effort and time I want to put into them with these special videos. But anyway, so NWA Legacy Series, the podcasts come out every single Friday. Saturday's reserved for All Elite stuff. We've got Revolution coming up soon, so check that out. With Sundays reserved for WWE pay-per-view stuff, which Royal Rumble this past Sunday. Mondays is Kingdom of Honor with Jamman and his friend Jeff talking Ring of Honor, New Japan, I can't really speak, MLW, whatever. Tuesdays was the Global Revolution, but now they're doing new Legacy Series, so scratch that. Wednesdays is Planned Sports Entertainment is Dead, wrapping up as they get closer to Samuel Plan full-on retirement. And this week he had Sir Sam on talking about Ambrose, Reigns and Rollins in the Triple Threat Shield match from Battleground 2016 before the Superstar... What's it called back then? The roster thing. Draft. Bloody hell. I need to go to bed. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll be back here next Thursday on LOP Radio talking about God knows what. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.